Hello everyone, Happy New Year. I'm Matt from Forbidden Planet London and I'm here with some recent comic book recommendations. So we're going to start off with the all-new Ultimate Spider-Man #1 from Jonathan Hickman and Marco Checchetto. This is the first ongoing series in Hickman's all-new Ultimate Universe, which launched recently with the excellent Ultimate Invasion alongside Brian Hitch. The basic concept for this series is, what if Peter Parker didn't get his spider powers until he was already an adult, married to Mary Jane, and with 2 kids. So if you've been missing that marriage between Peter and MJ in the mainline comics, and if you want to see Spidey with some kids, this is your book. It's absolutely incredible. It's really blown me away. Hickman, you can always expect something good, but this surpassed my expectations completely. There's a few other, I won't spoil anything, but there's a few little twists and additions and changes to the Spider-Man lore and the mythos, which make this really distinct and really grabbed me. And I absolutely can't wait for issue 2, especially with Checchetto's art, which if you've been reading his Daredevil run with Chip Zdarsky recently, you'll know is absolutely incredible. Following that, we're going to take a trip over to Krakoa. We've got Wolverine 41, which is the start of the Sabretooth War. This is looking likely to be the climax of Benjamin Percy's run on the character, and he's teaming up with recent Sabretooth writer Victor LaValle and artist Jeff Shaw and Corey Smith. And effectively everything that's been going on with Wolverine and Sabretooth over the past, how long's Krakoa been around for now? I think it's about 5 years, isn't it? Over the last 5 years or so, comes to its inevitable end. It's a big fight. There's lots of grudges. There's lots of intrigue and mystery. And again, you've got Jeff Shaw and Corey Smith on art. There's a fantastic art team. Let's see if I can find a good page. You've got even this one, nice and simple, just lots of computers, but it just draws you in. It's just the sort of like scratchy, raw look you want in a Wolverine book, isn't it? And then we're sticking with Krakoa, and we're going with Fall of the House of X from Jerry Duggan and Lukas Werneck, which is, again, the beginning at the end for Krakoa. We've got Cyclops on trial. That's finally happening after the Hellfire Gala last year. We've got, We've got Wolverine and Colossus and a few other characters are trying to, trying to spring an escape for Cyclops before the trial concludes. We've got Professor X on Krakoa, pulling some strings as Professor X always does, and it always goes really well. So you can guarantee lots of smiles, lots of joy, and a nice little picnic or something along those lines. And then we're moving forward from the present day into 10 years in the future with, which one's this called? Rise of the Powers of X, which is Kieran Gillen and R.B. Silver doing sort of what Jonathan Hickman did with the launch of Krakoa, where you've got your modern day series and you've got your series set in a future timeline. Inevitably, with the X-Men, plans are in place to try and prevent that timeline, but how are they going to go about it? That's what we need to find out. We've got an interesting cast of characters. We've got an AI Tony Stark. We've got Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, is the new Captain Krakoa. We've got Kate Pryde, has sort of turned into an apocalypse, basically. We've got Synch as Professor X, more or less, and Wolverine is still just Wolverine. But it's excellent. If you love Kieran Gillen, you know what you're in for. You're in for a few puns, you're in for some high adventure, and you're in for some brilliant concepts. And then we're going to go straight from Marvel into DC. We're going to hit up Shazam #7 from Mark Waid. And on this issue, we've got Goran Sudzuka on art. I absolutely love this series, which I think's been flying a little bit under the radar, which is a shame because it's just pure fun. It's what you want from a Shazam comic. It's got Shazam, obviously. It's got his wider family. It's got Black Adam. So if you were hoping to see that in the films and were disappointed when it didn't come to fruition, you've got it right here. And you've got some talking accountant space aliens, which, I mean, how could you not want that? It's great fun. It's exactly what you want from Shazam. It's fun, it's silly, but it's also got those moments of, oh no, to keep you going. It's not just for laughs. It's just great. It's Mark Waid. You can always trust in Mark Waid. And then we're sticking with the sort of high-flying adventure. We've got Superman Action Comics 1061 from Jason Aaron and John Timms. This is Jason Aaron's first ever Superman story. He's pitting him against Bizarro, and again, absolutely love it. If you like your Bizarro with a bit more of a sympathetic edge, then I'd say this is the one you want. He's going all out. His whole world is sort of falling apart, and he doesn't know what to do. So as Bizarro does, he's just kind of lashing out, and Superman's got to try and stop him. But there's a little bit of an extra wrinkle because Bizarro is now amazing at magic, which of course is one of Superman's weaknesses. And yeah, it's great. You can tell Jason Aaron's having the time of his life, and John Timms off of Son of Kal-El recently is very, very, very comfortable in that Superman world. And then we're going from that, we're going for something a bit more sort of sci-fi, but like weird sci-fi, not just spaceship sci-fi. This is high concept sort of early 2000s Wildstorm sci-fi. We've got Outsiders #3 from, let's get their names the right way around. We've got Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly on the writing. And of course, we've got Robert Carey on art. I've really enjoyed this series. It's taking the sort of the idea of the original Outsiders and putting it more in the DC universe. So you've got Kate Kane Batwoman, you've got Luke Fox Batwing, and they're just going on crazy sort of almost sort of like time travel, alternate reality, dimension traveling. And in this issue, they end up trapped inside Batman's brain, which is all very normal and calm and not at all weird and filled with all sorts of different Batmen. You've got appearances from like the I believe the Adam West Batman's in there. There's all sorts of Batman variants. So if you like going, oh, I know that one from that TV show or that Elseworlds or whatever, this is your book. And yeah, again, it's a really good story. It just sort of grabs you and takes you along with it. And then we're leaving the big two and we're going over to Dark Horse for Masterpiece #2, which is by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev, who, if you've ever read anything by them before, you know what you're getting into here. It's going to be sort of dark, it's going to be a bit grimy, it's going to be a bit scratchy. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns, great sort of core mystery. This is basically about a girl who finds out her parents, who she has lost, were basically the world's greatest thieves, and the sort of Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg-y type billionaire that they pulled off their greatest heist from wants to hire their daughter to do sort of the damage that her parents did to him to one of his competitors, basically. And then she gets caught up in this sort of spy thriller kind of thing. There's all sorts of different people, different parties after her and her inheritance, basically. And yeah, it's exactly what you want. You know, you've got Alex Maleev, even just people sitting down, you're still drawn in. It's still incredible. It just brings you straight into that world. And yeah, Bendis is Bendis. If you like your protagonist a little bit quippy, then this is exactly what you want. But it's pure top-notch Bendis and Maleev. So if they're up your street, highly recommend the first 2 issues of this. And then we're going to move over to the Enon Universe with Duke #1 from Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley. This issue spins out of Transformers #3, I believe it was, when Duke had a small little MCU-style cameo going up against Starscream. And it's the fallout from that, basically. Duke gets, let's say, sort of mishandled by his superiors in the US military, who tried to gaslight him, basically, into believing that the giant robot he saw squish his mate wasn't really there. It was just the altitude, or maybe he just had some bad coffee that morning. You know, it's very easy to mistake a giant alien robot in the sky. And obviously Duke doesn't believe this, so he falls down sort of a rabbit hole. You know, it's got sort of analogies to what's going on in the real world at the moment, with people falling for misinformation online and falling into those sort of traps and unfortunate communities. And Duke sort of falls into those with the alien conspiracy side of things. But actually, does he find something that might be a bit more real than that? We'll have to read it to find out. This is great. I really enjoyed it. I've never really been super hooked on G.I. Joe before. But this one, I think this is a really good sort of twist on it. It's not straight in with the big sort of sci-fi 80s kind of military stuff. It's building up that world. So Duke's going in, he's learning about all the different players and kind of finding his place in a world where planes transform into giant alien robots and squish your mate. And then to finish up with, I'm going to go for something a bit sort of out of left field with the new Zorro, Man of the Dead from Sean Gordon Murphy. Sean Gordon Murphy, a lot of you will probably recognise from the Batman White Knight series recently. He's both on the writing and the art in this series. And again, I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but it's really got its hooks into me. He's basically telling a story where Zorro is effectively like Robin Hood for the country and the community this series is set in. And one day, the person playing Zorro in sort of the local reenactment / celebration is killed by the gang that runs the town. And then you skip forward a few years and you've got the dead Zorro impersonator's son and daughter, and you're seeing where they're both at. The son has been trained up by another local to be the new Zorro, and the daughter has fallen into driving jobs for the gang that killed their father. It's a really good sort of, opposite sides, conflict of interest kind of family story. And yeah, I can't wait to see where it goes. You've got Sean Gordon Murphy on art. So again, it's very kinetic. You've got this here again. It's just sort of people having a smoke in a kitchen or driving across the plains. And it's very kinetic. It's very lively. And yeah, it's a really, really good time. Highly recommend tracking this down and the next 4 or so issues, I believe it is. And then, yes, that's everything for this edition. Thank you very much for watching. You can buy all of the comics that I've just been recommending, as well as the ones you might be able to see just over my shoulders here at our Forbidden Planet London Shaftesbury Avenue store, and of course all our other stores across the country and on forbiddenplanet.com. I'm Matthew Hesse. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and hopefully I'll see you next time.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.